Hey everyone, looks like we are alive. It's great to see you. We made it to yet another Wednesday. I'm so glad you're here. Happy Independence Day for you Americans out there or United States citizens. Just want to say thank you so much for our men and women in the military and the police officers who basically keep us safe, and just want to thank them for that. And I am proud to be an American, so that I'd like to say as well. Not that all the other countries aren't amazing; they are, and the people are amazing. And definitely don't have that attitude where the United States is the only country. That's not the case, but definitely thank the men and women who have fought for this country, family members, friends. I mean, great Americans. And Mr. Roy, how's it going, sir? All the way from New Jersey. I did get I did get it today, the heat transfer vinyl. So we're going to be working on that. So that's exciting. So t-shirts are coming, right, Roy? Mr. Dan, how's it going from Indianapolis? How are you, sir? How are you dealing with this hot weather? It cooled down here on the East Coast. What about you guys? Are you guys experiencing any cold weather at the moment? Just taking a quick sip of some seltzer there. But great to see you guys. So this is a continuation of last week, right? Remember last week we were doing the airbrush, and so the airbrush was an underpainting. And so now, between last week and this week, I have been coming in with layers of oil paint. And this is on paper. So what I did was I first did a line drawing, and then you guys witness I did an India ink airbrush underpainting. And with that underpainting, I went ahead and shellacked it and used clear shellac. And then after the shellac was thoroughly dry, I came over and worked with the Createx Lifeline colors that are from the Tim Gore line, which is really great. And so we're able to get a nice base, and you can still see some of the underpainting here, not much. Let's see, in right here where we're going to be working, right in here, you can see this is all airbrush, and we're going to come in today and go over the underpainting with the oil painting, which is really fantastic. Colette, how are you all the way from the Atlanta area? Great to see you. And so you still can see the color underpainting that was with the Lifeline colors by Createx, and you can still actually see some of the India ink under that. So each layer, each medium is helping out the other. The pencil lines are helping out the India ink. The India ink is helping out the color line by Createx, the Createx Lifeline colors, and subsequent after that is the oil colors. So it's a very great technique. And Dan says, did I get to see Spray Gunner's new video? Createx has a new reducer, 4021. They rave about it. They say it's awesome and way better than 4011. Oh, great. I want to hear what you say. I'll be really looking forward to it. The 4021 is all the buzz lately, isn't it? So I'm going to get a hold of a bottle as well and maybe do a video of it. But I definitely want to hear what you say about it and, what your thoughts are, Dan. Definitely. Colette says the painting's looking good. Thank you so much. I appreciate that so much. And so, basically, we're going to work on this area because if you can see, let me zoom in, I've worked on this area of her dress, like the ruffles, and for me to truly see it, I need to hit these kind of deep orange flesh tones here to kind of get that contrast and really see if the colors are 100%, you know. So that's what I'm working on. So something different today, but I really want to expose you all to the possibilities of airbrush not being the only thing, is that airbrush can be a stepping stone into other mediums. Other mediums, you can express yourself in different ways. It's like speaking English and Spanish, you know. Spanish, there are words that don't translate in English, and vice versa. Being a Spanish speaker that I taught myself, and a lot of nice Spanish people have taught me too. And so that's why you want to play with different mediums. The different language basically saying the same thing, but allows you to express yourself in different ways. So that's basically, you know, where I'm coming from with this. So I have my picture up in Pure Ref, and let's see here. Let me see. We don't need to see me anymore. So I'm going to remove me. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to start moving down her quote-unquote neck area with the sternocleidomastoid, the trapezius, and going into the clavicle and to the sternum. So that's what I'm going to be working on now, and we're going to be doing that slowly. So the first thing I want to do is come in and kind of define this area right here, which is a sternocleidomastoid, and that goes into the tracheal area. So I'm going to mix this color up. Let's make that happen. And okay, so I see the color, and now I'm going to mix it. So I located the color, I isolated that color, and now it's time to manufacture that color here. And let's see. Okay, so I think I know how to get that color. Alright, let's make it happen. So I have my napkin and my palette knife. Colette and Patty, how's it going? Great to see you. And Dan is, can I take your name, Roy? Oh, let's see. So I'm coming over here. Put that there. Got the first color to mix this with. And I am going to go ahead and mix the subsequent color. And I'm just going to check the mixture right now. Okay, so I do see what's happening here. And almost there. Now I have to look at my reference to make sure that I'm on the money. Okay, now we don't want too small of a brush because it's kind of a larger area. Let's see, it may be too dark. Yeah, it's a little too dark. Let's see if I like this better. Oh yeah, this is much better. Okay, so now we have our color that we're looking for, and now we're going to go ahead and work this in. candlelight, it's very highly chromatic, right? That's the thing. So, but right here, this is the sternocleidomastoid right here. And we're just going to get this color and move it right over here. And basically I'm just going to work all the way down into oh, Brad is here? I don't see Brad. Let's see. Okay. And then right here it's a little bit lighter. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of work this area right into where the sternocleidomastoid meets the clavicle. So I'm going to make sure that I get the next color, which is this kind of mid-tone, and let's see if I can make that happen. It's a lot of color mixing, but any painting is, whether you're working in airbrush, the same principles apply. There's no difference, right? And almost there, almost found the color. And okay. Alright, now I'm just mixing the color on the palette. I wish I had a palette cam, but I don't. Sorry about that. I'm just going to see the percentage here. Okay. This may be the color, it may not, but at least we know it's close, right? That's all that matters, that it's close. And let's take a look. We may have to lighten it up, but that's okay. Alright, let's check. And what I like to do is, when I'm putting colors next to each other, kind of like mixing them together, getting like a transition tone between those two colors. So it's not so harsh. And I like to use a medium. There's a gel medium called, it's by Gamblin. It's really good. Oh, Patty, thank you. Patty says she's looking beautiful. I appreciate that so much. And by mixing these two colors together, you're able to get a really nice transition. Now it could be a little more red perhaps, but that means we can just go ahead and very easily glaze that color later. And then that same color is this transition tone right here. And I'm gonna go ahead and mix these and blend these together in a bit. And I may come in a little more red over here. But right now I'm really concentrating on these different muscles of the neck area. I really don't feel there is a such thing as a neck, but it's a combination of a lot of different muscles and cartilage, but there really is no neck per se, no anatomical neck. So let's concentrate on this area right here and kind of how this goes right into her shoulder of her dress. And now I can come in with the other color that we mixed just recently and kind of work them together. Now I may go a little bit more on the red side, but that's okay. It's okay to adjust your colors, especially after initial, but notice that I have the airbrush underpainting, right? And now I'm not fighting, let's say, the gray of the paper or the white of the canvas. That's why this technique is so important, and it also gives me a head start on subtleties such as, you know, half tones and soft edges that you can only get with airbrush, and I can maintain them, which is really fantastic. So kind of working on this one little area, you know, in the past I might have said the ensemble, stuff like that. But I think now what I want to do is create these compression of form here, which is very important. Now I had here's our darker color. And I'm going to add a little bit more of the red into it. Look, I just put my palette knife in the middle of the red, so let me clean this off. Okay. See, you know, in airbrush you got, you know, knocking over, you know, bottles of paint and in oils you have different problems. So there's always a different problem. So I'm going to add a little bit of red here. And I think I'm going to add a little bit of this naphthol red. Naphthol red is not like a cadmium red. It's not overpowering, but it's a pure red that plays nice with other colors. Other pigments, I should say. See, I'm going slightly more red here. Maybe even more red. Now we definitely got to work on the edges between these, of course. I think I need a bigger brush for that. It's just too tame, you know. You need something a little bit more powerful, especially in a larger area like that. Let's see. There we go. Alright, so now what I want to do is kind of work in between those two colors. So I'm going to take a clean brush and I'm going to kind of work in those two areas together. Keep wiping my brush So with airbrush you wouldn't be doing this, so every medium will solve the same problem but in a different way. And then what you do is you work the lighter color into the darker color, and then you kind of find that peninsula, right? The border in between the two colors. Same thing here. I'm going to start with the lighter color. Kind of move the lighter color, wiping the paper towel so I'm not getting muddy. Muddy is when you mix things too much and you kind of lose the shapes of the values, or the shapes of the form. So then it becomes this kind of one color, one value kind of mess. So make sure you wipe in between. Might have went a little crazy with the red here. That's alright. You can calm that down. And you can see, just like anything else, you know, one kind of leads into the next, And I could calm this down. You see I was a little too powerful here. So I'm going to calm this down a little bit. And bring in some of this beautiful golden light here. And then worry about this contour that we work so hard over here on her trapezius. And then we come back in with that orangey color, darker, right about here. And just like modeling the form, and you can see how her expression is starting to come as we get something as simple as the muscles in her neck area, the sternocleidomastoid, and then the bones of the clavicle. And she's candlelit, so you're going to see some colors that you normally would not see in flesh. But that's why you paint what you see, not what you think you see. So initially, when you're doing paint, you know, your first layer, you're painting where there is no paint, and that's going to be the most trouble you're going to have, because paint likes to be applied onto paint, right? So now we're going to go back and see if we can kind of blend this out a little bit. Just soften it up. And of course it's going to look wildly out of context here, but that's okay. Come back in with the yellow. Now that's lighter and less chromatic. So not only do you look for when it's lighter, but also you look to see when it loses some of the saturation. And right here it loses some saturation. Same thing right about here. We have the insertion of the sternocleidomastoid into the sternum, and you see a little bit of that right there, and that's lighter, but it's also more gray because we lose saturation, or chroma becomes more gray. Now, you know, some people might say, well, Tim, you have an airbrush channel usually. Why would you do this, right? Because I think as artists who use airbrush, they have to see like what doors airbrush can open. And I really think that other mediums, whether it be watercolor, acrylic with paintbrushes, uh, there's a whole new world out there where you could express yourself in new and different ways. So that's why I'm not pushing anything, but just exposing, or letting my viewers know of the possibilities, and I think that's excellent. Mike, how you doing? Michael Russian, thank you so much. It's so great to see you. Thank you. I appreciate you, my friend. And you are from Decatur, Georgia. Am I correct, sir? And I think I got it right this time. Thank you so much for your support and your super chat, my friend. I really appreciate you and really love the black and white portraits he's doing. They're just out of this world, everybody. You have to see them. And they're getting better and better, you know? So thank you for sharing them over there on Instagram. And that's really great. Oh, I got it right. All right. Took me a while, right, Mike? But I got it. Thank you so much for your friendship and your support, my friend. Really appreciate you, Mike. Astral, how you feeling? Are the headaches gone? I'm praying, I'm praying, I'm praying. I hope you're doing well all the way over there in the UK. And see how I'm working on a lot of the transitions a little bit. So I'm worrying also about the color, and then also worried about how the forms kind of go into one another. And so yeah, a lot of people worried about Mr. Astral. So I hope you're feeling better, my friend. So Mr. Mike Rushing, what are you working on now? He's doing some amazing portrait commissions. He's going to take a swig of seltzer. Astral says, feeling much better. Isn't that great? Managed to get his airbrush going today. That is amazing. So fantastic. I'm so happy to hear that prayer works. Mike says, getting ready to go to Jamaica. Now, did the hurricane pass Jamaica yet? I'm not sure what happened. I'm sure you're not going there before it hit, so it must already hit, right, Mike? Do you have family there? Wow, Jamaica was right in line for that Hurricane Beryl. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit some of this dark color coming here, right? Because it's sort of like a domino effect, right? So once you have this going, then we got to continue with the sternocleidomastoid over here. So that is more of that darker reddish color. And every now and then my brushes get all dirty and I'm not sure what color they are. And then you'll see I'm just going to go ahead and, you know, put them in the solvent and start over, so to speak. And let's see, right here. So I'm starting with the sternocleidomastoid right here, and then there's a darker value here and here. So that's what we're looking for now. So even though I wanted to edge over here, I think over here to define the anatomical forms over here are much more important. And so this is a good way to work, kind of build out, like explore, you know, move out slowly. And you can see, you know, she's already developed, but now I'm taking it to that next level. So, and you can see how the oil paint is just a little more vibrant than just the airbrush. So it's a different look, but you know, you might like that look. And if you get a portrait commission and it's an oil painting, bam, you could like triple the price, you know, and you could get accepted to galleries and everything like that, and you're doing the same thing. It's not like there's a big disconnect. There really isn't. I'm going to bring this red down here. Everything is very similar to what you guys and girls do already with the airbrush. There's not much difference. And let's see. So now I want to find the color, this dark right here of the other side of the sternocleidomastoid, right here, and the other side. So one side is a little bit darker, so I'm going to find that color right now. Let's see. Now you'll see, like when I'm mixing colors, if I'm not using the Createx Lifeline colors, I'm unable to show them online, show the mixing online just now. I'm just unable to do that. And so right now I have the color, and I'm just going to go ahead and try and make this happen for us. So I believe I'm going to be in a, well, I am going to be in a group show in Montclair, New Jersey coming up. So that's exciting. I'm excited to share that news with everybody. It's just a small piece. It's my piece La Latina that I finished not too long ago. It's an oil painting that began as a India ink underpainting, working with Createx and the airbrush, and so really cool. And of course I only use Badger airbrushes. And okay, so I see my mixture, and let me go ahead and make this happen. Now it's very interesting about color and how color works. And I did have some breakthroughs with color of late, and it's really interesting. Let's see. Just going to go back to my hue. Okay, I can see what's going on with the hue. And my value. You'd be surprised how much black is involved. If anyone ever says they're not using black, I think they gone mad. You know, honestly, if anyone says I don't use black in my colors, they lost their mind. I think they're being different for being different, because colors do have black in it and you can't escape it, you know? It's like when artists start using complementary colors. I'm going to give a little bit of a hint here. Not a hint, but color theory. And the color theory is, if you want to kill a color, then you add its complementary. Well, you can't do that because you're changing the hue. So you're actually changing the color to desaturate the color. So you can't do that. It's like you don't slow down a Toyota by putting, you know, a Chevrolet in front of it. You can't change it. Either you have a hue and that's what it is, and you work with that hue. Ah, Patty, have a great night. It's always wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for hanging out. And I look forward to talking to you during the week on the other live streams. So when you do get a color, remember, we're not painting fences or anything like that. We're painting people, and there's a lot of translucency. So when you put a color down, even though you have the correct mixture, it doesn't mean you have carte blanche to just say, okay, I have the mixture and it's going to work. That's not how it goes. Is that since it is translucent and transparent, you're going to have to mix that with your lighter flesh tones, and because the lighter flesh tones are underneath, doesn't that make sense? So that's why, you know, a lot of people who paint still lives and then try and paint people and their people look like still lives, it's because you are painting a person that has lots of layers, right? Many layers. Ogres have layers and onions have layers, right? So same thing. And let me see if I'm getting this correct. So I'm being very light with my application, you know. Astral says the idea of not using black came from the post-impressionists. They frowned upon using black. They stated it didn't exist in nature. Yeah, exactly, you know. But have they ever seen a dark room with a closet in it? You know, it's pretty black there. And just like this shadow color has black in it. And that's the only way I can get this color besides changing the hue. And you can change the hue. It's the hue. You can't go ahead and change it by adding its complementary color. It's just, it doesn't work. We have to break convention just because this is what we're told. We can't just say, well, that's what we've been told for centuries, so that's what it must be. It's like, there's no way. That's not the way it must be, right? And you can see as we start darkening some of these areas here, it's almost like I'm glazing, but I'm not. Yes, black suits. That's true. I mean, I understand where they're coming from because they want color in their darkest darks, but there's a lot going on with that color. And, you know, and even like to get certain colors or certain greens, you can only get by mixing yellow and black. So what about that, those guys? See how I'm working this now? And I'm going to bring this dark over here and I'm going to build it. Just like airbrush, right? Too dark, too early, too bad, too sad, right? Same thing with oil paints, you know. Hey, Mr. Brad Mummery, all the way from Manitoba. Great to see you, my friend. So glad you're here. And you see I have the really dark underpainting here. That will serve me well because I'm going to do a very... And here's the beauty of oil, is that I can go as thin or as thick as I please. Right? I could cover anything. I could be as transparent as I like. That's the beauty of oils over anything else. And of course I'm using this Gamblin medium. This, I believe it's, what is it called? Non-toxic. I have it right here. Solvent-free gel. Yeah, so it's a Gamblin solvent-free gel, which I enjoy. I also enjoy just using solvent depending on what I'm trying to do. So you see how I'm bringing the sternocleidomastoid down here? And that's where the knowledge of anatomy is crucial. Not important, imperative. And I'm going to go darker with this, but right now, and there's black in this mixture. And we're going to go darker with our next layer here. And that next layer may be tomorrow, once this dries, or maybe later. So Brad says he's home now. Oh, okay, great. Now, okay, cool. So you were out and unable to use the chat function. Glad you're back, sir. So as you can see right here, we're going into trapezius. And this is the space inside the trapezius and the sternocleidomastoid right here. And you can see all these different shapes and what they're doing. If you know what the shapes are and know what they're doing, it's not going to be a surprise for you. And you're just going to know how to get it done. Now right here is a straight line because this muscle is tight, right? So this is a straight line coming down like this. That has to be a straight line. When you understand the muscles, you understand what they do, and if that was like all curly and weird, that would not look right. So it's not only knowing the anatomy and the muscles, it's knowing the nature of the anatomy and the muscles and everything. Mr. Dave Gregory, how's it going, my friend? Great to see you. How's life out there in Texas? I'm so glad you're here. Mr. Dave, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate that, my friend. Happy pre-4th of July. Are you going to be home with the family, or are you going to be in Texas, sir? I'll be working. So I know how, if you're working, you're not alone, my friend. So it's so great to see you, sir. Oh, and thank you. Dave says she's looking great. I appreciate that so much, sir. And you can see I'm definitely on the light side, but I want to build that. And there's this reflected light here. I want to retain that reflected light. Look how much more powerful the reflected light had gotten when I came in with this. So now, once again, I want to assimilate these values with one another. So I'm just going to, first I'm going to work with the light color going into the dark color, wipe my brush, kind of work back like this here again. Dave says, took command today, anniversary tomorrow. Wow, family leaves Texas on Friday morning. Oh, great. So that's fantastic. So you get to have family time, and that's great. And you said you took command today. Now, what did you take command of, sir? May I ask? See how I'm kind of assimilating these values together? Because you got to start out harsh, and then you could soften them up really nicely and easily. So this is more like a blending brush. So I'll just come in, whatever direction I'm coming in, I'll move. Let's say if I want to work with the light color, I'll just kind of move that in like that, and then wipe, so I'm not bringing the darker color into the lighter color, but the lighter color into the darker color, if that makes sense. Oh, so anniversary, Mr. Brad, thank you for the super chat, sir. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. That really helps the channel. And, you know, thank you, Brad and Michael and Dave. You guys are really helping me out so much. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. This is the first July live stream, I believe, right? So what a great way to start it off, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we're just bringing this down. And so now you can see we're setting up. And we have this lighter color here going in here, and then this lighter color here. But what I want to do is, this is kind of like a triangular fossa in between the sternocleidomastoid. Each sternocleidomastoid going into, it splits over here. One goes into the sternum and one goes to the clavicle. And there's a little triangle in there. And 309 Brigade Support Battalion. Wow, you're in. That's wonderful, my friend. Oh man, Dave, thank you so much for your service, my friend. I should say, sir. I appreciate that so much. Wow. Oh, fantastic. I'm very honored and very impressed, sir. Especially on the eve of Independence Day. Thank you for your service. That is so amazing. I'm going to work in there, so now I have to change gears, right? So I was in dark mode, now I'm going to go back here. So I want to start with this mid-tone here, you know? Start with this mid-tone here, and then inside is a little bit of a light. Some people might do the light first. I don't know. I'm probably going to do the dark first because I can see that a little bit better. So let's make this happen. Mr. Dave, have a great weekend. Thanks for the super chat, my friend. And I hope you have a great weekend. And don't have too many hamburgers and hot dogs and what else is 4th of July food? Steak, chicken, all that stuff. Thanks again, sir. I really appreciate it. All right, so now we are, that's so great to hear. So we have this kind of darker mid-tone. I don't know if this is a little dark, so we have to go this kind of mid-tone color here. This might be still a little dark, but I think this may do the trick. We can always lighten her up a bit here. Yeah, a little bit lighter. So I'll come in here. Let's see how this, that's too light. Just getting this triangular shape right here. Same things that we are dealing with when we are working in Airbrush. I just want you all to see that, you know, there's no difference. And working over an airbrush underpainting really is a pleasure. And let's see here. Yeah, this is definitely the color. And of course, we're putting these colors and values next to each other, and then we're going to refine those shapes, right? So amazing. You know, I'm telling you guys, if you guys and girls, if you have a chance to do this technique of first doing an airbrush underpainting in color and then going over that with oil paints, oh my god, it really is wonderful. I mean, it's it really works well together. So what I do, so I'm working on paper, and you might say to yourself, how is Tim working on paper when he's oil painting? The secret is that I shellac it, right? That's the secret sauce, that I shellac the paper after I do my India ink underpainting. And you know, a lot of people think that expression is only in the eyes, but it's really in the muscles, and you can see her posture and how that changes her whole countenance, so to speak. So right now I'm coming in with this reflected light here. So what do you all think of this? Do you feel that, you know, as far as the channel guides, you'd rather see just airbrush? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Or is this cool, doing something completely out of the box? And it's funny because everything is kind of building on one another here, right? Everything is sort of building together. So you do one area and all of a sudden the other area screams for you to do. But notice I'm working in adjacent areas, right? I'm not moving around. I'm kind of uh, bleeding out, so to speak. So you see here where it's dry, right? This is where the color line paper and the lifeline colors are. And you can see how it's rough to take the paint at first, but once you get the paint down and you put the subsequent layers, it's like butter. It's really beautiful. So that's really good. It's like Mr. Leahy says, paint loves paint, right? So here we have this over here. And then we have this color right here. And it all pretty much just falls into place like one big puzzle. So if anyone's interested in purchasing an Extreme Patriot Arrow, I have 2 on stock that would go out immediately. The cool thing about them, they're on sale for $149 for this week only. I'm making way for new stock coming shortly. So right now this kind of connects right here, and before I go too crazy I have to remember this triangle in here, right? This light triangle. But notice how, you know, painting her neck really gives her this grace, and that's what I'm looking for, you know, the grace. Okay, so you see how that's working right there. Now I'm going to come in with this lighter color and hit this triangular shape right there. Come back in, kind of work these colors together. Very similar. The only difference is that you don't have to worry about blue shift with oils. So you're kind of free from that kind of restraint. But oh, cool. So Astral says he does like the variety of multiple techniques. Yes, because you can learn from different techniques and kind of bring them into the airbrush and bring airbrush into oil painting and watercolor. it's all connected, you know, which is cool. And all right, and the thing is, when we're working, is to just have patience. Don't worry about how it looks. You know, just keep your head in the game, and you'll be okay. So, keeping your head in the game means just being diligent, concentrating. Mr. Air Todd, how's it going, my friend? It's so great to see you. How are you, sir? Let's see if this is the color. I think so. Yes, so you see how that really works. And oh, I'm so glad you're doing okay, my friend. So, how's life over in San Diego, sir? I will be right back, guys. I just have to check upstairs and use the bathroom. Talks among yourselves, but so we're doing pretty good, I think, and I'll be right back. Hey guys, I am back. I wanted to show you guys something that I got from Amazon. It's pretty cool. Go raid the fridge. That's funny. Uh, let's see. So I got this. I think you guys would find this interesting. As you know, I have a heat press, and so this is by A-Sub, and they make the sublimation paper, and this is A-Sub heat transfer vinyl. Now, what's really cool about this invention is that you can take this and put it through your cutter, whether it be the Cricut or the Cameo 4 or the Cameo Pro or whatnot, and you can have it cut out, let's say the design of this woman here, right? I can cut out the design, and then I would heat press that onto the t-shirt, which is cotton, because in the past you can't you can't do sublimation on cotton. It has to be polyester, but polyester is so hard to get a hold of. And so now you have the shape, and it's on the shirt. Now you can take the design, you know, print it out on sublimation paper, cut it out, and then put it face down onto where you have the shape on the t-shirt, which will accept sublimation, and it's really cool. So it's really a cool idea. So those of you who have sublimation, is really great, and so I definitely I'm gonna try this. Me and Roy are gonna try it and see how it works, so that's gonna be exciting. I think it was only $11, which was really cool, so that was neat. Okay, so I got my water, and it's 71 degrees out, so it's not hot. It's a nice day, nice evening. Okay, so now let's see, pick up where we left off. Maybe I can start coming in a little darker here, and that's what I'm going to do. And I need a little more translucency, so I'm going to add some of that solvent-free gel to this. And again, each time you define the anatomy, her personality comes to the forefront. And you can start on this side of the sternocleidomastoid. Kind of build that up. And you see, by adding some of that solvent-free gel, I get a nice translucency. And the paint seems to flow a little better. So I want to keep some of this reflected light in there. So I'm just going to lift the pressure of the brush as I get to this center area. I just want to feel, I want to put a little more of that reflected light in there. And here's her earring, which comes much later. then here it's much darker. I think I'm going to use a bigger brush. Like I said, you know, you don't want to use a small brush when you need a bigger one. A little darker over here. This part right here is her clavicle. No, I'm sorry, her trapezius clavicle. Clavicle's down here. Some artists say, you know, especially in oil paints, they'll say, you got to use a lot of paint, you know. No, you don't. You use whatever is comfortable for you. And try not to get any kind of dogma. Listen to, you know, people with their, this is the way it must be. It doesn't have to be. Oh, so Astral says that the paint slowed down the drying time. Actually, if anything, I feel it speeds up the drying time. But that's unconfirmed. I'm always, the way I am, Astral, when I start a painting in oil, I will work every day until it's done. So I'm always like, always go, go, go when it comes to the paintings. So I'm really liking the way that this is developing, and it's very similar to the way I would develop a portrait in Airbrush. The only thing is I'm not worried about blue shift anymore, so I can go lighter over dark, no problem. Dark over light, no issues. So again, you want to go ahead and kind of assimilate. So I'm going to assimilate the light color into the dark first. So I'm just going to move that. I'm not blending, I'm just kind of establishing the edges the way that I want them. So we'll get that. Move in with some of this lighter color here. That's a reflected light, right? Let's see. So today I had to get up so early to deliver my painting to the gallery for the show, and it's an oil painting, and it's, I don't know if you remember, it was La Latina. It was the portrait of the Spanish woman, and she had a purple kind of magenta background, if you recall. So that one made it into the show. Got such a great framer. They did such a wonderful job. And that's exciting. We got to get our paintings out of the studio and into the world where people's eyeballs can see them. I'm not crazy about galleries. You know, I'm not crazy about doing that part of the whole art thing. But it's definitely necessary, and it definitely gives you opportunities that maybe eBay, you know, just social media is not going to give you. So the way I work is, I work pretty, I wouldn't say I work thinly. Lately I've been working thinner than normal, but I think it's because I've been airbrushing a lot, and airbrush is notoriously working in thin layers. So that's probably what it is. But if I ever get like my Rembrandt vibe going, then you'll see that I work definitely thicker at times. So it depends on whose work I'm looking at the time. Uh, Whenever I'm really studying somebody, you know, like an old master, their work invariably makes it into my paintings. I don't know how to explain that either. But you see how one thing leads to another? So innocently we were going to work over here, and then we got involved in the sternocleidomastoid. But I should make this channel more about portraits and figure painting, you know, to include airbrushing. Airbrush being the main medium. Did I ever paint anything on the live stream besides a portrait or a figure? Good question. Can anyone recall if I did? I don't know. See how I'm building up the dark just as I would in airbrush? There's no need in oil painting, but you see how one medium will help another? And that's exactly what's happening here. That one medium is basically scratching the back of the other medium. Now I shouldn't go up here because that's going to start a whole new ball of wax. So I'm just going to continue down here. But I already started it, so I better go ahead and work on this here. Can't start on something and walk away. Just bringing this color up here on this chin, I should say. Then we have that lighter color right in here. Lighter the pressure, right, the less of the material you're going to be putting on your surface. And right here, we're just going to shape this hermentalis over here. And then we have a little bit of just a beautiful reflected light right here. That's a great thing about oil painting. It's very much like sculpting. And then, you know, we're going to go back to how, you know, we're not blending, I know. So what we're doing is we're assimilating one color into the other, like so, wiping our brush and assimilating it into the other. Now if we want to assimilate one color in the other, we do that, and then we wipe it and kind of work that, kind of find that peninsula, right? That's what you want to do. This of course has to be refined. I mean, I didn't want to begin this, especially here, because then you have to work all the subsequent surrounding areas. But it's the building up of values that are important. And making sure that your values are compressed, right? They have to be compressed. They can't be too harsh. You know, we want to see contrast, right? We want to see a strong contrast between this shadow and the light, but in reality, it's a long way from the shadow to the light, meaning that there's a lot of little value shifts and color shifts and saturation shifts, right? So you have hue, saturation, and value. Those are the only things you should be worrying about. And remember, you're basically sculpting, right? Everything is wet. You're sculpting with the paintbrush. And that was just right here, you know, I don't know why I went off on that tangent, but since I did, I had to stay there for a while. So now we can come back to our job at hand, which is the clavicle, sternocleidomastoid, the trapezius. We originally wanted to work into here, but things kind of got sidetracked. And Air Todd says, Tim, is it hard to erase the lines after you left the painting alone for a while? Now, do you mean pencil lines, or do you mean, let's say, like this area is dry? The great thing about oil, very much like pastel, which I have also mastered, pastel is a medium where you can put as many layers on top. So let's say I don't like a line, let's say I don't like this here, I can paint over it so easily. So there's no problem. So like, yes, so airbrushing is a fantastic medium, I love it, but it has its limitations. And you'll find in different mediums such as this that there are mediums where you don't have those limitations. But in oils you have new limitations. So like one medium's not better than another, but it's almost liberating when you go into a medium and not have to worry about pencil lines and blue shift and stuff like that. So it's a relief, and those are things that, you know, one's not better than another, but it's nice to experience a painting without blue shift, right? I mean, it's liberating. Oh yeah, well if you, let's say you did this, that you went ahead and did painting, you did an airbrush underpainting, right? With India ink, and then afterwards you came in with, let's say, Createx, the Lifeline colors, and before that you went ahead and after the India ink painting you shellacked it. Then you went over the India ink and shellac with the Createx Lifeline colors. You let them dry, and now you can go ahead and put oil on top of that. So any pencil lines that you did experience are well gone. See how hard edged that is? And a lot of times when you can tell if someone is not having a grasp of the three-dimensional world, is that they'll leave that at a hard edged line. Now, there are people who say, Tim, that looks fantastic, but it's not. because this is a rounded form. This is her trapezius as it moves around her back and goes all the way to the front and is right next to that clavicle. So it's turning. So to have a hard line like that, you're doing a disservice to the model and who she is, right? So we're going to fix that, and I'll show you how we do that, because we have to make her round because she is round. She's a series of round forms. Some are more oblong, some are more rounded, some are, you know, even squared like here, but she's a series of rounded forms, thank God. So now we want to bring in this light color. So I'm going to mix this light color here. And that light color, believe it or not, is still from the first underpainting of the India ink. So that's still there. So that's pretty cool. And so now I'm going to go ahead and locate that color. And I know it's not white. Here we go. It's going to be close to white, but it's not white. Actually, it's not even close to white. Very interesting. Okay. Alrighty then. Let's make this happen. Running out of water. Okay. Alright, so okay, so I have a game plan to get that color. Let's make that happen. Let's get ready to rumble. So you always start out with a hue. And you don't destroy the hue by adding its complementary color. Remember that. Okay. There it is. Well, I'm seeing more red tonight than normal. But I think I'm happy with this color here. Let me get a clean brush. Let's see if this does the trick. Okay, back to the drawing board. Okay. So now my job is to kind of assimilate this trapezius as it turns, right? Because it's turning. Now, you see how it turns both from top to bottom, left to right. So you want to continue that. So while I'm here, I'm going to worry about this form over here as well, which is the clavicle. So the clavicle is a different form, and it's intersecting with that of the trapezius right here. And we're going to define those two forms separately, but also as they kind of intersect. Now, another thing is to slow things down when you're painting. You know, we all love to be fast and furious and everything like that. But if we slow it down and really take our time, then we could be much more effective in creating something that is, you know, graceful and beautiful. Nothing is graceful and beautiful when you're in a hurry, especially when you're observing nature. There's never point for speed. If a painting looks horrible, no one cares. Well, it only took 45 minutes. No one cares that it took 45 minutes. They care how it looks. So now I'm going to come in with a kind of a mid-tone here. And I do have some mixed up over here. So it's more of a yellowish, orangey color. So what I like to do is combine some colors together that I already have mixed on my palette. It does the trick. See that? See how the values, and I'm going to zoom in on this because I want you to see the compression of the values and how crucial it is. So like right here, this value is so close to this value here, it's almost indiscernible as to when one starts and one ends. But that's what's going to give you the grace in your model. You know, if I left that, it would look too harsh, and she would look harsh and ugly. And now you can see how that turns much better. See how much graceful her neck is right now? And we also have to look at the size, right? You know, how much of her trapezius is showing. You know, she's a strong woman. She has a pretty good sized trapezius. I bet you never heard a guy say, wow, that girl has some trapezius on her. But a beautiful trapezius on a woman is gorgeous. So you can see, like right here, I'm going to come in with that lighter color. We see more of the trapezius facing the light. So the light source, so the lighter color, is going to be stronger down here. And that's what gives it a variation of the shape. And notice I'm blending with the paintbrush. By putting one value next to another. And then right here, we have this lighter color, and also is on the other side of this clavicle here. And it's all about, you know, refining shapes, making things round, make them turn in space. Get a sense of what the light is doing by, you know, whatever is facing the light most directly is going to get more light, a lighter color. Then I can come in with this lighter color again. And also, you know, when you're looking at things as a three-dimensional form, think of a sculptor. If I was to run my hands along her clavicle, A, I'd probably get arrested, unless it was okay by her. But if I was, I would see how this clavicle kind of makes this left right-handed turn here. It comes up a little bit. There's a peninsula that's, you know, like the coast of New Jersey, you know, that weaves in and out and definitely is not a man-made shore. And you're not going to get it all at once. It would be boring if you got it all at once. Life happens when we observe. And now I have to come in with a little bit of a deeper mid-tone to come into the mid-tone and then into the dark right underneath the clavicle as the clavicle turns inward. So let's see. Let's see what this does. Maybe do a combination of the two. But you would be doing the same thing. I'm not thinking differently than when I'm oil painting. I mean, when I'm airbrushing. There's no difference in my thought process. I'm still solving the same problem. Right? It's still the same thing. I'm solving how I am going to make this clavicle turn towards the light and away from the light. That's my only job right now. It's the whole painting, but right now my job is just the clavicle. That's all I'm thinking about. That's all my job is right now, is this clavicle. And you can see, like, over here it's okay to, on the bottom side, it's okay to kill the chroma, but it's not okay as I'm coming towards the end of the clavicle on the inside. The chroma kind of builds up again, meaning there's more saturation. So remember, you don't just have color and value to deal with and edges, and that would be fine if that was all you have to do, but now you have to do saturation. So you have to decide, okay, this color is getting darker, but is it keeping the same saturation? A lot of times it doesn't. And there might be slight hue shifts, but I don't see the hue shifts as much as I see the chroma or the saturation shifts. That I see, but I don't see too many hue shifts. And I just think when you're looking for hue shifts, you know, you could always hit those hue shifts later with, let's say, doing transparents, right? And doing a transparent glaze and do that slight hue shift. The hue shift is never going to be, unless it's like some weird, you know, filtered flash or something like that, or a gel. It's very rarely going to go from one hue to a hue on the other side of the spectrum. But the art world will have you believe otherwise. Okay, so now we're looking for a darker value. Before I do that, I just want to bring down this kind of rich orangey flesh tone here. Make sure I get this right. There we go. So you see, I'm just thinking about what? I'm thinking about, you know, value shifts and edges and chroma, but really being diligent as I'm doing that, and doing the 1 second rule as well. That didn't go away. That's still alive and kicking when you're working in airbrush or pastel or oil. The 1 second rule is always in effect. You can see sometimes there's actually a little bit of the gray paper shows through, and that's pretty wild when it happens. I've been painting all day, so some of the paint on my palette is a little bit on the sticky side, but I'm not going to put new paint down. It's the end of the day. Oil painting is not expensive. A lot of people think that it's much more expensive to airbrush than it is to oil paint. Especially the way I oil paint. I work on water. On water? No, I work on paper. I was thinking of watercolor. I had watercolor on my mind. So now I'm coming in with this. See how I'm kind of like an explorer. I'm kind of edging out, right? Edging into the forest. And as I'm doing that, I'm seeing things that can be fixed as I'm going. So it is much more, see how everything is so fluent. I don't have to worry about things drying and everything like that. So there is a lot of advantages and disadvantages to every medium. But this thing is I can come back and work on this, you know, later today or later this evening. Tomorrow, maybe not. I think my paints will probably start to get nasty. I don't like working handicapped when it comes, uh, you know, with let's say paint that is tacky or something like that. I want to have all the advantages that every other artist has, which is paint that's not tacky, um, you know, that sort of thing. Good brushes, right? So those are things that are important. So as you can see, as we were working, the neck was not developed, the neck area, quote unquote, but you can see we did the tracheal area, the sternocleidomastoid, the trapezius, the clavicle. We're going to come down into the sternum just a little bit, and then her chest and breast area. So, and we actually went ahead and went into her mandible a little bit, and to the mentalis and the mental fat compartment, and a little cleft in her chin. So it is fast. I think it's as fast, if not faster, than airbrush, in my opinion. Oh, tomorrow I am house sitting and taking care of sick animals. But that's it. How about yourself? Are you going to have a barbecue, Mr. Todd? I hope so. So now what I'm going to do is move in with this dark here, and that's going to be fun, right? So I'm going to move in with that dark. Oh, you're working tomorrow. That's rough, definitely. That's definitely not fun. So you see how we're kind of building onto other areas, right? Moving one into another. And So that's important to do. And let's see. That is great. Time and a half. So that's really fantastic. Uh, oh, Astral. So my voice kind of went out. I'm sorry about that. Is it better now, sir? Let's see. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the underside of the clavicle. So let's zoom in on the clavicle there. And you can see I have to make this clavicle turn. As I made the trapezius turn, now it's my job to make the clavicle turn. If I left it hard edge, I may get away with it, but what happens is that she looks harsh and ugly, and we want to impart her grace, her beauty, and we can only do that by really experiencing her three-dimensional forms, right? That's the beauty, is she's three-dimensional. You could touch her. Well, you, like I said, you get arrested, but you could touch her. Let's see. So now I'm going to come in and we're going to see what kind of chroma or saturation we have. That's a very grayed out dark. It's really not that dark at all. So I'm going to come in with some muted colors here. And like I said, it's the end of the day, and I've been painting ever since I got back from the gallery. And you can ask yourself, is it gray? Is it, you know, what's the saturation on this color? And remember, the lighter the pressure, the lighter the amount of paint you put on the surface. So if you want something that is like kind of translucent, you just kind of very lightly go over that. That's true. Saying that she's ugly is definitely harsh, right? That's for sure. And she's not ugly. And so now I can see I can get a little more chroma in there. Someone not too long ago, when I was working in black and white, and they said that I was working in black and white because I was afraid of color. Well, they should never open their head. The reason why I was working in black and white were personal reasons, as well as really wanting to get the handle on the airbrush. And, you know, I invented my Airbrush India ink, and basically, you know, customized my own airbrush, and I feel I achieved what I wanted to achieve during that time of just concentrating in black and white, was the fact that I got control of the airbrush and I learned a lot about value and edges and everything like that. And I felt that I couldn't learn that while worrying about chroma and saturation. Now, I've been trained as an oil painter for 8 years in New York City art schools. Now, I'm not talking a college that has an art school. I'm talking the National Academy School of Fine Arts. Norman Rockwell went there. George Innes. Everett, what is it? Merritt Chase. The list goes on and on. The Art Students League. I went there. Went to the High School of Art and Design. Scholarship student the whole way. So for someone to go ahead and say, well, he's doing black and white because he's afraid of color, was really not the smartest thing to say. It's so true, airbrush is perfect with black and white as well as color, but yes. And I highly recommend, really, you know, if you want to hone your skills, I highly recommend doing that. Highly recommend doing that with India ink. So you see, this is not a very saturated color here, but now I have to get this shape down, right, of the clavicle. It's not just a straight line. It kind of ebbs and flows and then comes over here. But it's all connected. If you know how to paint in black and white, you know how to paint in color. And if you don't, it will take relatively a short period of time to learn color. Unger said it takes like 20 years to learn how to draw, and I think he said a couple of hours or 7 days to learn how to paint. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. It's an exaggeration, of course, but there's a lot of truth in it. But just like chess or any other discipline, you can go as deep as you can, as deep as you want. You can kind of get lost in it, you know? You definitely can. Now, I could be tempted to go ahead and do a swath of color right along her breast area, but that's not going to serve me at all. If I go ahead and do that, then I'm not paying attention to all the nuances that are going on there. So we have the clavicle, and it turns, right? See how it turns beautifully, right, into her chest or pectoral area. But then her pectoral kind of intersects with the clavicle, the beginning of the clavicle here, the beginning of the clavicle here, the sternum, right? And then her breast. So there's a lot going on. To just do a swath of color, I feel would be a disservice. And Air Todd says, Tim, how much can you dilute detail mix? I would dilute detail mix no longer than 1:1 with water. And when you do that with the detail mix, it's really wonderful. You have this like really incredible control that you can build up slowly, and you don't got to worry about going too dark too early. It almost keeps you from going too dark too early. And since it's so light, you can lower down the air pressure with the pack valve and get really beautiful gradations, you know, and beautiful control. So, and it keeps you from going too dark too early, which is great. So now we have this value here, and I'm going to bring this right underneath the clavicle and just bring this right over here. So I may remix that color. Let's see. A lot of times, if I'm not too sure that I mixed it right the first time, I will remix it just to clarify, right? Just to clarify my thoughts that they were on the money from the beginning. So I will be offering a oil painting workshop. Not many people will do it, but if you do it, you'll come away a changed artist, trust me. And if you're interested, let me know. If not, I'll continue painting by myself. It's all good. I'm gonna paint no matter what, but I'm always up for any kind of breakthroughs. I'm always wanting to share them with my students, and I think that's, you know, being a born teacher. Astral says he neglected his drawing skills for a time when he realized how easy it was to paint. That's cool. So you did the opposite, right, sir? So now I'm going to mix this color. I mean, be economical with your paints, but don't be stingy, meaning, you know, put the paint on the palette, mix a good amount, but don't be stingy either. Or I should say, don't use too much. It is expensive. Not really. So if you find a sale, you can get a good tube of paint, you know, even a cadmium for around $12 to $20. You really only need 12 tubes, right? And so it's not expensive at all. And now I'm going to go ahead and get the other element of this paint, of this color. There we go. So when you're working in oils, so what are the advantages of working in oils? One of the advantages to working in oils is you're really going to learn about pigments, because the nature of working in oils, the tradition, the importance of pigments, and, you know, single pigment colors as opposed to hues, cadmiums and quinacridones. You're really going to understand color in a different way, in a more profound way. So that's cool. Alright, so let's mix this color we're using as a blender. So I'm going to go a little bit big here. Go big or go home, right? Let's see, is this too dark? Nope, I think that's a good color. We may be able to lighten that up a bit. So I'll just bring in a lighter color and kind of mix that with that. It's always to flavor. And that's a little too dark for my taste, right? So let's lighten that up just a tiny bit. Again, using that solvent-free gel to kind of spread that paint with a nice flow in the beginning is good. And I think, well, I'm okay with it. Remember also, your color is going to look different when it's wet than when it's dry. So you'll see like, oh wow, this color is way different, but it is wet, and that is going to change it. It's going to have a luster. So right now, I'm going to do very lightly here, because this is sort of like where this value here kind of blends in with the lighter values here. I'm just going to do a little scumbling here. See how she's coming together? And then and you see how her dress is starting to come together too. A lot of times the shape of something is described by the adjacent shape more than the shape itself. So putting these values in there is really helping. Brad says, looking great, Tim. Thanks for another great feed. Good night, everyone. Happy Independence Day. Take care, Brad. Thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I hope you have a great rest of the week. Don't work too hard. And happy painting. And we're going to have a mixture. So we're going to come in here. I'm just going to scumble. Like we always say, you know, paint likes paint when you're applying it. So I'm going to put a little paint down right there. And a little paint over here. And then I'm going to come in with this light color that we kind of started the day with. And you see how we're bringing in her whole chest area. I mean, in this painting, of course, we're going to do several passes, but by spending more time in the pass and not being slapdash and being more general and kind of being more specific in the early going, we have a very good beginning of everything that we're working on. And that's important. If we're nondescript and say we're going to get to it later, why not do it now? Why not work on it now if you can? That's my contention. And it's just a different way of working, you know. I work both ways. Here's a nice brush that's clean. We're going to go with the color that we mixed in the early going. And this lighter color, and I think it's even lighter. Let's see if this is it. Yeah, I think so. And you see how she evolves. If you're paying attention to the anatomy, you're paying attention to your edges, the chroma. You know, if you're staying technical, things are going to fall into place, and you're being diligent. Just like in chess, if you're staying with chess principles in the opening part of the painting, things are going to work out in your favor. Not always, but you're in very good position, and that's the key. It's the position of it all. So anyone who's still out there, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave something in the comments what you think. I'll be working on this painting over the weekend. I'm hoping to finish her by Monday. I still have my other projects to do, work projects and all, but she's going to be my obsession until she's done. So any free time I'm going to be working on here. Oh, cool, Todd. So glad you're here. So now we continue with the clavicle, and then over here we have the sternum. See how we're building up those anatomical forms? But when we're getting those anatomical forms correct, we're really getting her nature, right? I mean, we're getting her expression. Our expressions are in our body, in our posture, and that's what I'm seeing right now as I'm working with her. And each painting is different, but this painting to me just talks about posture more than anything, and her expression. And I don't think it's like a prideful expression in her. I think it's just a beautiful, graceful expression. I love it. A lot of hard edges here. Remember, she's graceful, so we have to find that grace. So everybody, it looks like we are at 11:30. I hope this was a uh, informative and educational experience for you all. I really love sharing uh, different techniques of my experience, of my education. So I really love to show what's possible out there, and you can do it. Air Todd, thanks so much. Have a great night. And yes, we always need to draw. So drawing is always the best for us. So always draw when you can, especially when you're at a barbecue or something. What else are we going to do? Thank you so much, Astral. Great to see you. Have a great day. Take care. I'm so glad you're feeling better, my friend. Everyone, thanks so much for spending Wednesday with me. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the friendship, everyone. And oh yes, so definitely, just practice, practice, practice drawing, Todd. You're gonna get better. Don't worry. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great night. Thanks so much. Take care.